Hey, how's it going?
Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. David Lindsay, you're online. Welcome to the podcast. Let's have this your pre-recording moment.
It's great to be back again.
Okay, so I'm still waiting on author Nyakno Ekwere. And while we're waiting for author Nyakno Ekwere, author David Lindsay, I feel so amazed to have you back on this podcast this weekend. And I have a great news because today happens to be an amazing, epochal and phenomenal day in the life of the Global Reader Circle, the podcast Garden Cross. Because as we speak, author D. Lewis Tina is live in person, one on one in Nigeria, Asaba. And by the special grace of the great galaxy of the universe, by tomorrow, you'll be doing an in-person one-on-one podcast with her. And I was with her at the A part. She was so amazing. So one of the most beautiful person had the opportunity and luck to meet. So at the Lindsay, I hope that one day, was just one day, the message on the podcast, the one student, one book, one author mantra will get to see a becoming in you visiting any location or any part of our tour sport. But right now, I feel so amazed, so thrilled to have you on this podcast. How have you been feeling? How's the day been?
I've been all right. It's been an interesting week.
Wow, wow. So I have been waiting for your co-author and a co-guest in the house, and while we're still waiting for him to come online and be part of a show, we'll be talking about today's episode. But before we do, I'd like you to get to talk about yourself and what you do and your books and your ministries of author. Just gonna tell us about you. Just tell us about you, your name, how you were raised. Just give us fun stuff about David Lindsay.
Sure. Well, you can find my books on davidalindsay.com. That's Lindsay, no spaces. I grew up on Long Island, which is a part of the state of New York, not to be confused with the city of New York, which is inside the state of New York, but it's its own area. I went to school for psychology at Adelphi University. I did a lot of jobs. I was a stockbroker. I had my own therapy practice for a while. I drove 18-wheeler trucks. I'm still licensed. I also I had an international driver's permit, so I could drive in over 150 countries. Excuse me. And my favorite thing was teaching English in South Korea because there's just so many little differences that you never expect. We have the metric system in the United States, but we don't use it. We use it for things like medicine, for very specific things, but most people don't really use it. So I got to South Korea and the kids asked me questions I wasn't prepared for. They said, "Teacher, how tall are you?" I said 6 feet and 1 inch. And they said, "Feet?" This tiny little girl took her shoe off and started to measure up my leg with it because it's so different. Another kid said, "Teacher, you are how many kilogram?" And at the time, I had no idea, so I just said 6, which got a big laugh. Right now, I trade stocks, I day trade, I long term trade, I medium term trade, and of course, I write books. The trading stocks makes me more money, but the books are my favorite thing to do. It has been for a very long time. If I can make just a little more money on them, I'll be able to do it a lot more often. Are we still connected? You haven't said anything in a while.
Otto Lindsay, I understand that you invest in stock and you want to make more money from your writing, which is very deserving. And I like to say that for you to sell more books, you would have to make more credible readers. So this leads us to the real reason why we were gathered tonight. Now, you've talked about yourself and your experience about being a teacher, but first I'd like to ask you when you were a child, tell us about your relationship with the books, your reading dexterity. How did you coin it? How did you realize that you became an avid an elliptical reader? How did you realize that you are now a committed reader? How did you realize that you were just this person that would not stop flipping off or trying to turn pages and see books instead of seeing a movie like it was very rampant in those days or listening to music? I like to hear this part of the story.
Well, that's not quite how it is. Don't get me wrong. Books are still a very wonderful tool. I actually did a promotion for my local library because there's a lot of things that you can still only get from books. If you have
Yeah,
an older piece of technology, there's
yeah,
no YouTube videos on how to fix it. You
yeah,
have to go to the library, and sometimes you can't even find it. You don't
yeah,
know how to look for it, so you need the librarian. You need to ask the librarian how to
yeah,
even find it.
yeah,
There was a friend of mine. He didn't know how to phrase it. He didn't know how to phrase it. He married this woman from outside the country, and she had a
yeah,
college degree, and he wanted to know if the college degree was any good in the United States, and he didn't
yeah,
know how to phrase it.
yeah.
So the phrase he wanted was college degree reciprocity. But
Sorry?
if you don't know that, you need to do something like go to the librarian and say like I have this device and I'm not sure, and they're specifically trained to do that. My aunt is a
Wow.
librarian. I mean, I don't mean like she just puts the books back. I mean she's a professional librarian
Yeah,
with a
I
degree in the
understand.
subject.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, as to I don't read as much as I should. Um, YouTube videos, they are faster, they're more easily digested. I can put one on and listen as I walk around and work. Books have taken quite a pounding, but they're still out there. There's a lot of people that just learn better visually. They learn better from looking at something, and other people learn better from reading. So there's still plenty of people out there reading, but it's just things like anybody can make a YouTube video. So there's just a lot more of them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Author David Lindsay, I am so amazed and so glad to announce the arrival of this one big author as far as the local thought sport is concerned. He's one of the gatekeepers as far as Nigeria is concerned, as far as Africa is concerned. Author Nyakno Ekwere. It's so good to have you, big brother, on this show.
All right, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Sure, sure, I can. Author David Lindsay, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear him just fine. Welcome.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Otto David, you talked about selling most of your books. So you're very so lucky that on this particular episode, you have an opportunity to be partnering, fostering, and building rapport with a credible author like Otto Nyakno J. Ekwere, who will be helping you foster that ally that will help you meet your new set of readers even while you're sleeping. So far, you guys have the goal of working on this project. Sorry, Otto David Lindsay, we lost Otto Nyakno Ekwere, and I'm sure he's going to be back probably on this show because we've been having a stale weather, and like he told me that it's been raining in Lagos, and this is so hard on him because I understand when it's raining and the weather is stormy. I know how the weather can be. So Like I was saying, that he happens to be one author, you can build the necessary rapport so you can get to meet new readers and other committed readers even while you're sleeping. So this brings me to the question: what have you done so far? What kind of project have you initiated? What kind of community have you forged? Partnership have you co-created as a creative to see how you can reach out to a greater number of people, like you did to in you said South Korea, you were once a teacher. And talking about your books, what have you done so far to see how you can get to meet young people, get to meet your target readers one on one, and get to build a rapport with them? Because I understand that you can be more bigger if you try to make one person big. If you're also one person who believes in this philosophy, then tell us how, what have you been doing so far? How do you intend to meet more people? Because for an author of over 80 books, man, bro, and as far as finance is concerned, you are a force. And I understand that everybody needs to do something about their finance. So you're a mentor, a coach. So give us clarity, Arthur David.
Of course. Well, I talk about my books wherever I can. I have to be careful not to do it too much. I don't know if you have Craigslist out there, but they actually kicked me off Craigslist because I was selling my ebooks, and Craigslist wanted to sell physical books only, and they weren't available at the time. But
Yeah,
yeah, whenever
yeah,
somebody
go on.
contacts me, I talk to them as much as I can. I've helped a lot of other authors get at least as far as I've gotten, and you
Yeah,
just you just keep working on it every day. That's all you really
yeah,
can do. And
yeah,
it's surprising. Google is a wonderful resource just to
yeah,
look up and see how other people have done it. The thing is,
yeah,
you've got to, the hardest thing to do now with so many people publishing and self-publishing, it's easier now than ever.
yeah.
You can even publish trademarked things. You're not supposed to, but you can publish trademarked things for free. I
Like
mean,
what
you
I'm
can't
like
you
like what
can't
I'm
make
doing
any
with
money on it. Hmm?
like what we're doing with like what we are doing with our Guardian Cross. What do you see? Because sometimes we look at Guardian Cross as a brand, we look at it as a ministry, but yet we're yet to make funds or get people to um, support our project and get to own some of our visions. And this leads us to one question. I know you're a finance expert. How can a podcast like ours get to make more people own this vision of making a reader out of every global person, especially the child? But I need to tell you that I like I admire the fact that authors like Arthur Tina D. Louise will leave the United States of America and visit this part of the world, Nigeria, just so she can get to have a talk and tell young people, man, you could be blocked, you could be locked, but don't stop. you know. So I love the fact that she left our comfort zone and choose to come to this part of the world and inspire young people and other people to be better version of themselves. So Otto David Lindsay, we have Nyakno again on the show. We have Otto Nyakno again. He's back. And Otto Nyakno, I understand you've been going through tsunami obstacles to be here, but I'm sure you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you very well. Good evening,
Beautiful,
David.
beautiful.
Hello again. Welcome
David.
back.
Okay, okay, okay. So, Otto David, beautiful, beautiful. Otto Nyakno, we were just talking about how David can get to forge credible rapport with authors of authorities arising on the vision and causes of the Golden Cross podcast, so we can make and help inspire a committed reader out of every global person. So we're talking about how we can meet our next target readers and how we can get to see how we get them to be readers and committed readers, and also get to see how we can turn up funds as authors, because obviously authors should be the richest people in the world. What would you have to say, Author Yagna? But first, tell us about you. Introduce yourself and your books to the audience.
All right, once again, good evening, everyone. My name is Nyakno J. Ekwere. I'm the author of Black Scorpion. Black Scorpion is a contemporary literature that has to do with gang violence cause groups in mostly in Nigerian university. So I took up the passion to put that in manuscripts to educate young minds about the pains and the gruesome life of being a gang member, which always leads to death and other destruction. So that was one of the reasons why I got propelled to write to the younger generation about the violence and the incidental life of being a gang member, which I'm trying to correct in Nigerian society.
Wow, wow,
That
beautiful,
also,
beautiful, beautiful.
uh,
Go on, Arthur
also,
Nyakno, go on, go.
all right. Also, as a father, I don't want my children to grow up to see the kind of lifestyle that is mostly in the generation Z in the Nigerian society. So I took steps to correct
Beautiful,
and put that
beautiful,
into writing.
beautiful,
And if you
beautiful.
must notice that every election cycle in Nigeria is greeted with violence, and most of
Yeah,
this violence is is from the university. There are higher hands from the university, so they
beautiful.
become election riggers, ballot box snatchers. So most of them tend to carry arm and fight each other for politicians. They are being used by politicians. So I've
Yeah,
been going around secondary school, high school in Nigeria, and some university to talk to students. It has not been easy because it's draining on my purse and doing it from my pocket. And also it is affect my job. So most of the time I have to put it away to concentrate on my job for now. So in a
oh,
nutshell,
Nyakno, Ekwere. Sorry. This is where I have to cut you in. Auto Nyakno, Ekwere, my own elder brother and big brother at that. So this is where I have to ask you. So you mean you quit your vision of being a minister, a book minister, someone who was responsible for saving a greater number of people in humanity, just so you can have a paycheck?
not really. I have to pay bills. I have to put food on the table for my own family. So most of the time, I have to cut trip.
This is on you, Otto David Lindsay. This is where I like to ask you. Now, you heard the narrative of what Otto Nyakno Ekwere just gave to our audience. Now he's trying to solve a problem, and he's trying to help humanity solve a very serious, gruesome ignorance. And you know that being an author, you have this responsibility to be a minister first to yourself and to your readers. And now, if you're a minister, you imagine that you get to meet these young people first before this cult group, this dirty cult group gets to meet them first, and you get to help them meet a book that resonates their individuality. Now, I'm necessarily not talking about you writing 80 books down. I'm talking about you trying to ignite that reading cycle, that vision that sees and helps someone sees himself as someone who is supposed to help solve a problem, and that costs one. So for you, Otto David Lindsay, I like to ask you, how do you see the vision of Guardian Cross podcast of trying to build this bridge by helping you meet credible authors like Otto Nyakno Ekwere on a formidable structure of a student-led readership and in visions of passing a book Nathan and in illuminating every person in our circle. How do you see that vision, and what role can you play to make sure that the student-led readers network globally can soar? Because I understand that there are other tsunami obstacles in other different places in Africa. So this is on you to get to these people first before this scout group gets to them first. So Otto David Lindsay, tell us about your grand plan to meet your next target readers.
Oh, is that all? Well, the next plan is to write letters to the big publishing houses themselves, not sending manuscripts, not waiting for them to accept open submissions, just writing to them and saying, look, this is the next project. Before I spend a year writing it and having 6 people a day purchase the book, I think it would be beneficial to both of us if we could come up with a partnership. And then once that's done.
Otto David Lindsay, I understand that you have tsunami room full of books. You are an author of 80 books. 80 books. But you see, Nyakno Ekwere wrote one book that can help you meet a whole lot of readers. And for this reason, I would like you to write more books. So I'd like you to take a tall sport, and I'd like you to build a rapport with Nyakno Ekwere and see how you can visit schools in Africa through this particular podcast and what we're trying to achieve with the vision of Golden Cross. So we can see how we can help a greater number of people. So this is not about a book right now. This is about passing the book Nathan and igniting and inspiring every committed reader out there.
Well, I got to tell you, I would love to visit Africa. I actually know a few people in Nigeria. I'm afraid I can't get away just now. My parents have gotten a little old. Around the house.
After David, you know, we are battling for the soul of our readers. That's what this podcast is trying to achieve. We are battling tirelessly for the soul of our readers. That's the truth. So when we're fighting in this, trying to win this war, we ought to put all hands on deck. This is necessary because if you see someone like the first time I came across Nyakno Ekwere and seeing his books and coming across having a report and trying to see how I can talk with him, I realized that it could help a whole lot of authors globally that I had known to solve a very big problem. And I've never really had time to bring him on this podcast. This is the first time. But first, one thing I know is that I've been building a very strong rapport with Nyakno Ekwere. I know this because even if I am yet to know him in person, I have been trying so hard because being in West Africa, I realized that he is a force. If you were in West Africa, Otto David Lindsay, you would want to save everything we've lost. If you visited some part of West Africa, you would want to do everything it takes when you see what Nyakno is trying to relay. So like I said earlier, this is about forge rapport that will.
Well, I don't think you can battle for the soul of the reader. I've tried that, and it's an uphill battle. You've got to present something where they want to come to you, where it's beneficial to them. I forget who said it, but there was a quote that went something like, "The best way to serve yourself is to be of service to others."
Yeah, that's